My dad used to love to tell the story of a farmer. He was from the hills of Pennsylvania. This farmer who was richly blessed. He had the biggest barns and the most land and the best family. And one day somebody came and asked this guy, "Why are you so blessed?" The guy thought for a moment and said, "Well, I'm a Christian. And I shovel everything I have into God's barn, and He shovels everything He has into mine. There's one difference. God's got a bigger shovel." You want to know how big God's shovel is? Ask Abraham. Just north of 100 years old, his face cracked and rutted like a 6-month drought. God called to him one night, took him outside, showed him this absolutely crystal clear night, says, "Abraham, take a look at those stars, all of them. Take a look at them up there, Abraham. You notice all of them? Your descendants will be more numerous than the stars in the sky." Now that's a shovel. Ask David. God came to David one night and said, "David, your throne and your kingdom and your family will stand forever. I will not let my love leave you." Now that's a shovel. Ask the servant who owed his king 10,000 talents. Did you know it takes 15 years to pay off 1 talent? This guy owes 10,000 talents. Gets down on his knees and says, "Excuse me, sir, have mercy on me. I'll pay you everything." What does the king say? Remember? Don't worry about it. Let's just call it even. Ask the church in Acts. They witnessed to the gospel message of Jesus Christ, and count them, 5,000 people were saved. Now that's a new members class. Talk about a shovel. Ask this guy beaten up by the side of the road in today's text. Who stops? The priest, the Levite, the Red Cross? No. A Samaritan. This guy's deadly enemy. And what does he do? Pay attention. What does he do? He uses his own supplies to clean the man's wounds. He uses his own clothes to bind the man's wounds. He uses his own donkey to let this guy ride, and he walks. He uses his own money to prepay for this guy's medical costs, and he uses his own reputation to vouch for any extra cost that comes his way. Extravagant, lavish, some would say foolish lengths to go to help a stranger. Why? Because Luke says that's who God is. Because Luke said it was God who stopped on that road and your road and my road, and goes to extravagant and lavish, and some would say even foolish lengths to care for and forgive and embrace every last one of us in this room. You talk about a shovel. God died on a cross for you and for me, not because we deserve it, but precisely because we don't deserve it. Folks, I don't care what your station in life is, and I don't care when you lost your job, and I don't care the suffering that you're having, but every single one of us in this room has been extravagantly blessed by God. The question is, are we willing to go and be extravagant for God? What is the length to which the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection is willing to go to care for men, women, and children out there beaten up along those roads? Are we willing to make it a priority in our already busy schedules that we will deepen our relationship with Jesus Christ so that we might become more the Samaritan that he calls us to be? Are we willing to go beyond these walls and engage that community and find out who they are and what they need and then build ministries to meet those needs? Are we willing to grow in numbers, in a personal relationship with Jesus, in personal stewardship, in an ability to welcome new and different people, realizing that if the answer to those questions is yes, then the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection will be different than it ever has been before? Are we willing this afternoon to vote for a growth budget? Realizing that the only way we can fully pay for that growth budget is by using reserved funds. And absolutely being convinced that God today is willing for us to take that risk. I'm asking you seriously here, folks. To what extent is the Lutheran Church of the Resurrection willing to go out onto that road and meet the needs of the people we find there? Listen to the extent that God is willing to go. He went to him, bandaged his wounds, poured on oil and wine when only water was necessary, put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, not 1, 2. Gave it to the innkeeper and said, "Take care of him, and when I get back, I will repay you whatever you need." Folks, until and unless we see this story as our story, that we're the one beaten up by the side of the road who has been visited by an extravagantly graceful God with a big shovel, we will never see this story at all. A God who is willing to stop and care and bleed and die for people like you and me. My dear Christian friends, the God that we worship has a shovel in one hand and a cross in the other. Now go and do the same.